stood at the edge of a cliff and I went, this noise has to go. I do not want anybody to go through what I had to go through, thinking that by talking about their feelings is weak.
Because it is difficult to get men to talk. We just thought, well, we've got to do it. We've got to take a chance and do it. The minute we started the film, I didn't sleep for like a month.
I would work with everybody to make one person better. But the more people that come forward and speak about mental health, the better it's going to be. Putting it out there will raise eyebrows and it will get people talking. And that's the main thing about mental health. Get people talking.
Hello and welcome back to the David Spear podcast. We've got two very interesting guests today and a very interesting episode to go through, you guys. So I'll let you both introduce yourself first of all. We'll start with you, Dan.
Elliot, thank you so much. Yes, my name is Darren Thomas. I'm the founder of Signposted Cymru. We're a mental health charity based in Ebbw that covers the whole of Wales. I'm very interesting because it's Mental Health Week this week as well. So yes. Really good to have a chat to you.
Great, thank you very much, Darren. Shink?
Okay, I'm Andrew Jenkins, but everyone knows me as Shinko. I'm a director of a company called Tread Films, who specialise in issue films, basically. And for 12 years, I've been trying to make this film on mental health, and I haven't had the courage, but now, 3/4 of the way through it, so there's no stopping.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, both. We'll start with you, Darren. So, for those of you that don't, or for those of the viewers out there that don't know you or what you do, can you just explain a little bit about Signposted Cymru and how you started?
Yeah, of course. So the concept came from my own struggles. 5 years ago, after spending 22 years in the military, and mental health being very alien to myself, I suffered a breakdown. And looking for support and help out there was non-existent. And my story is well known where veteran agencies that should be helping a veteran, the NHS and the other mental health charities, because it was just pre-pandemic, basically closed the door in my face. So what I started doing was a boot camp every morning during the pandemic to get people together, get them fit and active, and for my own mental health as well. And during that time, Dragons RFC approached me because we'd done a press-up challenge. They went quite viral. And I know that people from your organisation took part in it. Yeah. And they said, look, why don't you start the charity? And to me, again, being a former soldier, never resonated with me. But then I stood back and thought, well, if I couldn't access services as a veteran, what about the average Joe on the street? So I came up with the concept of Signposted Cymru of immediate initial intervention for anybody struggling with mental health. There's so many horror stories, which we'll talk about later on. But that's what we designed. We designed 5 pillars of well-being, whether it be therapy and counselling, fitness, because we really believe that a good physical health massively aids with your mental health, social integration, again, because of the pandemic, people have been isolated, so we get them out and get them active. The 4th one, which if you'd asked me 6 years ago, holistic therapies, I would have totally laughed you out of the room. So meditation, Reiki, cold water therapy. And then the 5th one then is financial services. So, we've really seen that a lot of people that are in debt really struggle with mental health. So that was our 5 pillars that we designed.
Perfect. And what was the moment, if there was one for you, where you realised that something was wrong with your own mental health? Or was there a struggle with yourself that you thought, right, something needs to change and I need to do something about this?
Yeah, of course. So at the time, I was doing personal security for somebody. And during that time, I just felt that something wasn't right. But as a man, again, I put it down to, I was having a new baby, stresses of work, because again, I never navigated mental health myself. And again, the only thing that I knew of mental health was when I flew off the cuckoo's nest. Asylums, people highly medicated. And I thought, well, that's not me. So I couldn't relate to it. And I couldn't empathise either. So one day I went for a run. I stood at the edge of a cliff and I went, this noise has to go. Never planned it. And I took one step and pulled myself back. And the only thing I thought of was my children. I'm not there to defend them and people could say anything about me. And that was it for me. Then, again, tried to access services. And when I went to my GP, the first thing they said to me was, you're citalopram, come back and see me in 3 months. And I was just, I couldn't believe it. And then for myself, like I said, I had to then look after myself, again, this is why I will empathise with anybody that struggles with mental health.
Yeah, definitely. And like I say, it's obviously hard hitting with a lot of people these days as well. And you guys do such a good job with obviously dealing with that. And I'm sure you deal with unbelievable amount of cases every single day. How do you find that kind of your experience helps those other people that are in need as well? How do you think that resonates with them?
Well, like I said, I'm quite vocal, and I try to post stuff on a daily basis about mental health, and my lived life experience. And that's the thing. I think a lot of people that try to help others have had to go through turmoil themselves, and I was at the bottom of the barrel, So again, empathy is key when it comes to mental health. We're personable. Okay, so, you can just come to our offices, sit down, chat with us. But what I did find at the beginning was I would be triaging everybody. They'd come in, I'd take their details, and I was listening to their story, listening to their struggles. And when that builds up, you have to take a step back. So we're lucky now that we employ 2 mental health nurses that do all the triaging. And, the empathetic side of things is great, They can come in, there's no judgment, and it's immediate. And that's what has to happen with mental health. Now, next week, we're meeting the Minister of Mental Health from the Senate, coming to our offices. And their 10-year plan is about immediate intervention. But we've been doing it for 4 years, but we still don't get funding.
And that's one of the struggles, obviously. There's obviously a lot of challenges at the moment around mental health, and obviously the support network that's there for a lot of people. But what are some of the challenges that you face on a daily basis with that?
My sleepless nights are paying counsellors at the end of the week or the end of the month. We're so lucky because over the last 4 years, we've had so many great sponsors, corporate sponsors. And I know you're here, but your dad, Dave Spear, from day one, David Spear supplied us with a vehicle. Without that vehicle, we couldn't get around Wales. We couldn't do what we do, The fundraising that Dave Spear and the staff have done. Chris, who works here, came to Everest Base Camp with me last year. And without these corporate sponsors, we couldn't do what we do. And the other thing is the people that raise money for us. You know what I mean? In the last 4 years, we raised over £200,000. That's not us, that's the general public. You know what I mean? And we are so indebted for the public for doing what they do because they believe in us, because they know that all that money that comes to us goes to counselling, So, for instance, when somebody comes to us and accesses our counselling support, they'll have 8 sessions to start with, all free of charge. And if they feel that, if the counsellor deems that on an 8 session, by letting them go will be detrimental to their mental health, we'll give them an extra 4. So 12 paid counselling sessions. So what I say to people is, if you raise £1 for us or you raise £1 million for us, it all goes to the same cause. And we're indebted to you because of the cost of living crisis, and it's very difficult. Every £320 raised for Signposted Cymru gives one individual 8 counselling sessions. Right. So you're literally saving lives.
Yeah, definitely. And it's amazing I say it again, it's amazing what you do, and it's amazing what the charity do as well. So do you think the stigma around mental health has genuinely improved? Do you think there's a light at the end of the tunnel? Obviously, we mentioned previously that a long time ago there wasn't any such thing as mental health, or people didn't talk about it, whereas now, do you think that's improving?
Massively. Massively. Speaking earlier offline, the amount of men's groups that are popping up everywhere, because, again, we're smelly men and we don't communicate. We don't ask for help. We don't show our emotions. And, even around RCT, where we're based, there's walking groups, there's coffee mornings, and it's men's sheds. There's so many great organisations out there, small organisations that are there to help individuals. And I think social media is key as well. If you've got the likes of Tyson Fury that can speak up every day about his mental health, he's, the hardest man in the world, if you want to say that, and he's okay to speak about it. And it's okay not to be okay, But the more people that come forward and speak about mental health, the better it's going to be. We all have mental health. Everybody in this room has mental health, like their physical health. But it's whether it deteriorates into an illness, okay? So I think quickness is key. If you notice that something is, not right with yourselves, ask for help. There is help out there. And again, not just Signposted Cymru, there's a multitude of organisations out there that will support you. But it's really good now that more people are got podcasts like this that speak about mental health. And I think it's really encouraging as well.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously for a lot of people that might not be aware, we've talked a little bit about what you offer as a charity, but what are some of the things that maybe people don't know you offer, or maybe they can come to you with and seek some advice about?
So primarily mental health support. So that's our key factor there, which is counselling and therapy. Okay. Now, like I said, people automatically think by having counselling and therapy is going to fix them. in really isn't. So that's why we've got the full wraparound package, the social integration, which is key. It's a 6-week course where, if you're isolated and you've buried your head in the sand, you've got bills come in, you've got bailiffs knocking your door, we will come in and we will support you in that aspect. Always set yourself a goal and a target, okay? We all feel that when we achieve something, we have chemicals in our body, serotonin, dopamine, we feel good about ourselves. So when we first initially speak to that individual, we say, right, what is your end goal? What would you like to happen? Get out of debt, pay a bill, even go around to the local shop and buy a pint of milk. Very that minuscule to most people, but for somebody that's been isolated and has bad anxiety, that is massive. So we edge up to that position. So issue them with a diary, pre-populate it week by week. Don't go too far forward. Number one thing every morning, make your bed. Make your bed, because you can have the worst day ever, but you go in a freshly made bed, forget about yesterday, we move on to tomorrow. We can't change yesterday, you know what I mean? And that's what people, they harp on about the past, okay? And this is what we do, we support them. But look forward and look future, okay? Fitness again, like I said, fitness is key. We offer boot camps, mountains, challenges, challenge people, take yourself out of your comfort zone. Because when you achieve something, like I said, you feel great, But when you're in that dark doldrum of depression and anxiety or psychosis, whether it be bipolar, whether it be schizophrenia, okay, you think there's no way out and you think you're the only person there. So just remember, mental health does not discriminate. It happens to us all, okay? So don't think you're the only one there. But the problem that I find with everybody that comes to us is they've been let down so many times. It's like, well, what's the point? You know what I mean? I'll get a missed call. I'll ring them back straight away. They're like, oh, I didn't realise you'd ring me straight back. Well, yeah, that's our service.
That's what you're there for.
And my tagline is, we turn nobody away. The youngest we look after is 5. The oldest is 96.
Wow.
And think of everything in between that. It can be transitioning as a youngster. It can be bereavement. It can be your standard mental health, or it can be your higher mental, like your psychosis. Now, the only thing that our counsellors don't help with is drugs and alcohol. We are not a drugs and alcohol organisation. We haven't got that experience, but we still won't turn you away. What we will do, we'll contact somebody like Barod and get them through that position, get them into some sort of rehabilitation. And then once they've dealt with the addiction, then again, they'll come and we'll take them on with that, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's just that full wraparound package. And the thing is immediate. You have to help somebody immediate. Some people haven't got 8 seconds, let alone 8 weeks, 18 months. There is some waiting lists out there.
Wow.
So it has to be there, immediately.
Yeah, of course. And like you just said, then for a lot of people, it's a big barrier for them to kind of come out with it and maybe ask you the question, or ask anybody the question or come out with their own feelings. So is there a way of people maybe not picking up the phone? Is there a way that they can send you a message or a contact support through any other channel?
Yeah, of course. Like I said, I think, again, predominantly men, anonymity is key. Picking up that phone and asking for help is a massive step for anybody. So on our website, www.signpostedcymru.com, there's a talk to me button. Press that button, it generates an email. That email will come through to ourselves, and then we will contact the individual. Our offices in Aberdeen, if you just come there, there's no appointment basis. Please just come along. We're not a 24/7 service. We're a Monday to Friday, 9 till 5. But come along to the office, leave a message on a weekend as well, and we'll guarantee to get back in touch with you, okay? And what we will say as well, hence what we call Signposted Cymru, if we can't help you in what we offer, we'll signpost you to organisations that can. And like I said, there are so many amazing organisations out there, which hopefully we'll tag onto the end of this, that people can access. I won't name them now because there's too many out there. But the faith in mental health services is really dwindling. It really is, and there's got to be good people out there that promote mental health. And there's so many out there.
Of course. And you've obviously helped thousands of people over the last 4 years and even further as well. But is there a moment that sticks out in your mind that makes you think, yeah, this is the reason why I do this? Is there a story or a...
Well, there's 2 stories. Everything that I do in memory of Lucy Gardner and Alex Meek. So Lucy was an Aberdeen girl, and she came to us in our first year, and she was struggling with anxiety. So she had some counselling, took up our fitness classes, took up our cold water therapy stuff, and then didn't engage for a while. And then, like I said, unfortunately, her demons took control and she took her life. just over 3 years ago. And Lucy's family have been amazing. You know, Lowry and Michelle, Lowry's her sister, Michelle, her mother, raised over £25,000 in Lucy's memory. And then, again, just under 2 years ago, Alex Meek, 28 years of age from Merthyr Tydfil, again, was struggling with mental health, couldn't access services. Somebody gave my phone number to his dad, Paul. Paul rang me. Within 24 hours, Alex was in front of a counsellor. And then for the next 18 months, he just thrived. I watched him on social media. He used to use Flexi Fit Gym in Merthyr, getting fit, active, wanted to come to Everest Base Camp with us. And then just out of the blue, again, at 28 years of age, he took his life. And Paul and Gemma, Gemma's Alex's sister, again, have raised close to £30,000 for us in Alex's memory. Gemma done the London Marathon one weekend. The following weekend, she done the UK 3 Peaks with us. You know what I mean? The determination by that family, both families, to keep their name and their legacy going, it drives me. Because why should a parent, and you know, as parents, why should we fight to support our children? It should be out there. That's what the NHS is for. But people fall by the wayside. And it's tiring. It really is tiring. And for me, that's what keeps me going. And every December, I do a challenge. Every year I do a couple of challenges, and it's all in the memory of Lucy and Alex.
Oh, that's great. And like I say, the biggest thing that I notice is you turn up for these things as well. You turn up and you do these walks with the people that come on, come along with you. So you're actually at the forefront of everything. You're not just, a support network. You're out there, you're doing it with them as well, which is 100%. The biggest thing.
And look, it's a selfish reason. I struggle every day with mental health. I'm not cured. You'll never get cured in mental health. But what you will do with the support, with the therapy, is you learn how to deal with it every day. You know, every morning, while I'm in bed, I'm like, do I have to get up? You know? But what drives me, and it still drives me, is helping other people. You know, I do not want anybody to go through what I had to go through to find support. And I see it every day. You know, when you see a 5-year-old come into our offices having mental health support at 5, you're thinking, how can this happen? You know? But without our intervention, what's that child's life going to be like moving forward? You know, and what's the parents' life going to be like moving forward? Yeah. And is that thing worse than any walk like being let down? You know, so this is why we strive to be as best as we can, to do as much as we can, why we raise as much money as we can. But what I do ask is for local authority to give us some sort of service level agreement. You know, what we do, I really believe in nobody does what we do. You know what I mean? And if you do, let's have a chat about it. Because collaboration is key as well in the third sector. Yeah. You know, I would work with everybody to make one person better. I call it the pyramid. In that pyramid, if it's 20 organisations working together to get one person better, let's do it. But people don't like to share their train set. You know what I mean? So if there's anybody listening out there, please get in touch with us. And again, corporate. We do a lot of stuff with corporate organisations where we will go in, be the mental health support, be that first line of defence when it comes to mental health. And, and we always promote our corporate sponsors, and we can't do it without them either.
Yeah, of course. And obviously you dealing with these things every day, it must have some type of strain on you some days. How do you deal with that? Is this something you take in your stride or?
Well, I mean, your father will know this. I'm sometimes on a Saturday, if I've had my children, I'll drive up to Scotland. I'll climb Ben Nevis at night and come down. Mountains are my therapy. Right. And that's what works for me. I've got a great partner, I've got great children, and my social circle has really shrunk. You know what I mean? Because you can't, when you struggle with mental, you can't surround yourself with negativity. No. It really drains you. So my social circle is shrunk. I probably got 10 people I can rely on. You know, my biggest support, other than my partner, is our chairman, Dave Gooch. David has been with us from day one. And, my trustees have been amazing. You know, I can't speak highly enough for them. Mike Tuck as well. Mark, Terry, who used to be one of our trustees, and Laura. You know, these people have been, had my back from day one, supported us from the top echelon. Sure. So that's where my support comes from. If I've got if I struggle, I can ring Dave, I can ring Mike. You know, and the support they've shown me is unbelievable. And I've known them for 5 years, and they're now my best mates. Yeah. You know what I mean? And they've always look out for me. Your dad looks out for me. You know what I mean? People that believe in what I do, they've always got my back. Yeah. You know what I mean? And knowing I've got that kind of safety blanket around me, I know I can push and push and push. You know what I mean? But if I did feel one day my mental health is deteriorating, again, I know I got the support around me. You know what I mean? I got my own counsellors I can access.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it. And one thing we brushed on just a little bit earlier on was obviously that there is mental health struggles in younger children as well. Do you think there's something out there that's perhaps bringing this on? Do you think it's advancement in technology? Do you think is there a specific thing that maybe mental health is coming into younger people and younger children and things like that? Or do you think it's something that perhaps wasn't spoken about all those years ago and things like that?
Look, when I was growing up, if you were bullied in school, you were bullied for 6 hours. You went home, you closed your door, that was it. You had no mobile phones, you had no internet, okay? So I like I said, I think the internet and I think social media is a great tool, but it's also a bad tool as well, you know what I mean? So now kids will get bullied 24/7. Young children always want to be part of a group, okay? And if you're ostracized from that group, it's awful as a young individual, whether you're male or female. And what we're finding in schools, because we do a lot in the schools as well, is that people now are tending to go to other groups that they wouldn't kind of go into. So again, when I grew up, you had mods, punks, skinheads, rugby boys, you know what I mean? Now you've got LGBTQ groups, okay? Unfortunately, you've got self-harming groups because they know in schools that by self-harming, you can get taken away in a cool out place for an hour and you're around like-minded people. Some kids are doing it just for effect rather than because it is a mental health issue. Pandemic is massive. Pandemic has really affected youngsters because they didn't have that interaction with their friends. Again, it was a very close knit, which was great, you know, with your families around you, but they've lost that art of communication, you know, and funny enough, we just had a grant from the lottery to deliver violence against women and girls, which is key. It's massive at the moment. The Andrew Tate phenomenon, the misogyny side of things, okay, where young boys are, you know, thinking that by talking about their feelings is weak, and it's not, you know, so if they can't act out because of their feelings, they get angry. So again, we're going to be delivering these around the schools. Hopefully we can get them at a secondary school age, probably around year 10. And I'm very passionate about it because I've got a 15-year-old boy, I've got a 6 and a 5-year-old girl. So I wouldn't want my son becoming that way.
Yeah.
And my girls being, you know, subjected to that. But that's what we're finding. Youngsters are really struggling because of the internet, because of social media, ostracized from groups. And you see it all the time. The amount of people posting little kids getting beaten up, you know, and putting it all over the social media. Look, we're lucky, I say in the valleys, we don't get knife crime, but it is teetering closer into us, you know what I mean? And, you know, parents, you know, really need to keep an eye on social media as well. Check on their phones, see what is being told to them, see how if they are getting bullied. You know, I'm putting a block on their phone or something like that, you know? But that's the influx that we're seeing. Children being bullied because of, you know, internet.
Yeah, of course. And obviously, yeah, thank you so much for giving us an insight into Signposted. Obviously, you're doing some unbelievable work, and I'm sure you continue to do so. What's next for Signposted? What's next for the next few years? Where do you see the charity go?
Hi guys, hope you're enjoying this month's content. If you're in the market currently for a commercial vehicle, then please head over to our website at david-spear.com or pop over to our showroom in Tredegar. With over 30 years experience and unbeatable customer service, you know you'd save pounds with us. Thanks for watching. I'll let you get back to the video.
Well, with 4 years, like I said, 4 years yesterday, we're celebrating an anniversary being 4 years. We've helped over 3,000 people, you know what I mean? 1,500 in paid counselling, which is amazing. So for us would be a service level agreement with the NHS that they employ us to deliver what we deliver, okay, on a mass basis. And my 5-year plan, or our 5-year plan, was to have our own standalone centre, where it was a 24/7 run centre that if you were in crisis at 2 o'clock in the morning, you could ring us up, and bring your son, bring your daughter, bring your husband or wife. You've got a place to be settled and calm until the following morning. Now, we know the mental health services are overrun, massively overrun, you know. We've lost mental health wards. It's gone really slow. So the only mental health wards I think we've got in our location is the Royal Glam. There's 2 wards there, covering the whole of Cwmtaf Morgannwg, you know. So for us, our own standalone building where we have a space to run classes, run workshops, and do the full, again, mental health package. You know what I mean? But again, it's cost, and but that's our foresight moving forward.
Brilliant. And we'll always be there to support you.
I
hopefully.
know you will, mate. And
So-
like I say, and just put finish, like I said, you know, I know I've said it before, but from day one, Dave Spear Commercial has always had our back, always there, and we can't thank you enough.
Yeah, perfect. Well, thank you as well, Dar. So, Shink, we'll just turn to for you for a couple of questions now. So,
carry on.
for those of you that don't recognise yourself, let us know what you're doing at the moment, and obviously working on some exciting things as well.
Yeah, well, exciting but worrying. Obviously, as your dad knows, we've made probably 9 films in the past, and we finished the film about 13 years ago, and I was interviewed by the BBC, and he said, "Oh, we're doing I think on mental health, on people taking their own lives," and I said, "God, I don't know." In the Valleys at that time, and he said, "How many do you know?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know." He said, "Well, write them down," and to my shock, I could name 19 people straight away. You're not 19 people I've heard of, 19 people I knew. You know, probably 10 of them really well. And so I decided then, turned to my mate, we make films, let's do a script. And we wrote the script 13 years ago,
Wow.
and every year I haven't had the bottle to do it. I was wondering about, you know, copycat, you know, people can think, glorifying it. But anyway, so went out to the public like Darren does. Great work, I
Thank you.
gotta say, great work. I wish I knew about your organisation a lot earlier. And we started to put it out there and raise some money, and within minutes we had 20 grand raised. And the messages I had were incredible. Nothing negative. And then we sat down with my best friend, and the list now is, from that 13 years ago, is nearly 40. Well, it is 40. And we just thought, well, we've got to do it. We've got to take a chance and do it. And, I can't help people like that, and I haven't got the skill to, but now the messages I'm having have kept me awake. I've got to be honest, it kept me awake. And it's great to know with something like Darren's organisation, how I can pass them to for immediate.
Yeah.
Because the minute we started the film, I didn't sleep for like a month probably. I mean, I had horrendous messages. One poor lady had lost her 2 sons, her only 2 children, within 3 months. You know, and so we started shooting the film. It's looking good. The actors have been incredible, giving all their time. All the sound man's come out of retirement, and yeah, it's looking good. It's looking good. We're still short of money. Sorry, Dad, I don't want to.
I think that's the biggest thing you
Yeah.
touched on there was, okay, it probably took you a little bit longer to bring the video out, but
Yeah.
I think you saw straight away that there's other ways to help as well. You know,
Yeah.
there's so many different ways, and you bringing that video out might have touched with somebody, and that's why you've been able to help that person in that way. So
Hopefully, but I was listening to Darren about being a ex-serviceman, and I've had some fun in my life, as you know, as your dad knows, and making some of the stupid films we made. We had a good laugh, and my dad said to me, he said, "It's about time you put something back now," because I was telling him about what did he think of this. I hate saying the words aside, but film. And he said, "It's about time you put something back, that's all I'm going to say." And then it took me years, when my dad was 92, to hear the stories of what he went through in World War II. And the photos came out, and he's sat there with like 60 bodies on a ship. And I'm thinking, well, you suffered, and you know, and then you'll try. So I really, in my head, I'm thinking, I got to do this now. And hopefully it'll work. Hopefully. I don't think we're going to offend people like I thought we would, but it's hard to read the messages, which are heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking. And I've even had someone send me their husband's suicide note, and I read 3 lines and I couldn't read it. So it's made me more determined then to get this done then.
to help others.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think we talked about it a little bit earlier on as well. I think you almost don't want to always talk about it and get over that barrier. So I think from watching the video myself, it's very much a shock. It's a shock thing, and it might not be a comfortable watch, but it does make you think about it a bit more, and perhaps it will. I'm sure it'll help so many people. And
just one,
even if it helps once.
Yeah,
so.
did you see the video put out last year by Norwich City Football Club?
Yes.
Did you see that one?
Fantastic.
Look, whatever can be put out there to do with mental health is
Yeah.
only going to be a positive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it's brilliant. I watched it, Elliot sent it me yesterday. You know, it can only be a positive, it can only help others. You know, so don't think, am I going to offend anybody? Because, look, you can't keep everybody happy.
No.
You know what I mean? But it's in the right kind of genre, and it needs to be said.
Yeah.
Because it is happening.
Yeah. What I want to try and get over as well is like, you were lucky you were still your children.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, although some charities are not too, they're on the fence about this, is concentrate more on the families that you leave behind and your friends and your siblings, just to make you think again. Perhaps it's the wrong way to approach it, that you would approach it more professionally. But I think if just one person, if you save one person by thinking, oh God, I couldn't do that to my mother or something, it would help. So trying to get a lot of that in the film. And since I knew I was meeting Darren, we right in the second part of the script to include a soda. So you messed everything up.
But just one on that though, you know, again, I've been at that suicide point, okay?
Yes.
The last thing somebody will think about is what they're leaving behind. 9 times out of 10, it's, they're going to be better off without me, okay? So, look, there's so many different questions out there, so many things that will happen and the fallout from it, okay? But you got to think of the individual, okay? Why is he or she doing this as well? You know, they're not thinking, they're not doing it because they're selfish. No. And that's the terminology. Are they selfish for doing that?
That's
What
the
they've left
stigma,
behind.
yeah.
They're not thinking that.
No, they're
you know
desperate,
what I mean? Like again, you know, like you said, they're elated sometimes because they know that this pain is going to go.
Yeah.
You know, so like I said, you can't please everybody.
Yeah,
But putting it out there will raise eyebrows, and it will get people talking. And that's the main thing about mental health. Get people talking.
Yeah.
Make the conversation, ask the question. You know what I mean? And then you're on a winner.
Yeah.
Well, you talked about it a little bit earlier on as well, Dar, when, you know, some of these people that are struggling, they might go through a really good patch and they might come through the other side, or think they might come through the other side, and then it might be something small then that probably, you know, could be a trigger or something like that. So I'm sure there's lots of people out there that, you know, need this, you know, don't stop talking, keep talking, and hopefully that.
And it's like I said, look, you're never fully cured, okay? You're never fully cured. And the difference with mental health, like you said, is that we hide behind the eyes, okay? If we're all sitting here now, if somebody's got cancer, a broken leg, or they've got a terminal illness, we know about it. That's okay. Are you okay? But when somebody's got mental health issues, it's kind of shunned, isn't it? It has been, you know, and we can hide behind it, you know, unless you are highly medicated and you can see one day you've been high and down. But if you're struggling with anxiety and depression, we're functional. You can still function, you can go to work, you know what I mean? So again, absence to the normal, presence to the abnormal. If you see somebody changing, ask them the question. You know what I mean? Look, suicide is the most unavoidable death out there because we choose to do it, but we don't choose to do it.
Yeah.
So it's conflicting, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So early intervention is key, it's massive. And I say that to everybody, please ask for help. I know you've been let down in the past, because like I said, the people we speak to have all been let down, but there are organisations out there that will support you, and friends and family. Like I said, sometimes it only takes somebody to put an arm around you, say, come on, have a chat. And when you speak to a lot of people, I said it, when I sat in front of a psychiatrist, should have been an hour, I was there for 3, verbal diarrhea. Just everything comes out. And I just felt elated that everything that was in there is now out. You know what I mean? Now we can start. And that's what we do mental health. Start at stage 1 and work our way through it. You know what I mean?
I got quite a famous person, I obviously can't mention, who every week, you know, every Thursday morning, he'll phone 4 of his friends to make sure they're okay. And he'll ask those to phone 4 of their friends. And then he'll sort of fake he's had a crap week, you know, just to get them to open up.
Talk, yeah.
You say, how are you? And, oh, yeah, I'm okay. And then, oh, I've had a crap week. Well, come to think of it, so have I. You know, just to get... Because it is difficult to get men to talk, isn't it?
100%. And what we lost over the years as well is the art of community. Community, we lost it.
I agree.
When I was growing up, everybody on my street was my auntie and uncle. You know what I mean? You could walk into somebody's door, or mum's asking for sugar or cop, whatever it is, okay? And that was it. We now don't know our neighbours, okay? And that's not due to anything, just the way society is. if there was any sort of plus side from the pandemic, I think it built community again. You know, where you can ask people for support and ask people for help, you know. And we don't know what goes on behind closed doors, you know what I mean? We deal with families that got 2 incomes coming in and are still asking for a food bank. You know, in a society that we live in, with the affluent society we have, there are people still out there struggling, you know. When you've got good community, you can trust people. That's when you can open up and you can speak, okay? So men's groups are amazing. Coffee mornings are amazing. Access these little services that are knocking around all your communities and try to access them. You know what I mean? Go on the website and go, is there a men's group anywhere? It'll pop up. You know, CVCs, you know, which are, they can guide you to what's going on in your community. Interlink in RCT, you've got Vamped in Merthyr, Parvo in Powys. So there's different ones you can access. And there'll be a list of different organisations, a list of different support groups out there, and just access them. There's no judgment there. And that's the big thing. If you're going to speak to somebody about their mental health, you're not there to judge, okay? And watch your terminology. Things like, what have you got to be sad about, Elliot? Well, you know, you've got an amazing life. It doesn't matter. It doesn't discriminate. So just listen, sit back, be empathetic, and at the end, say, right, how can we help you? What can we do? How can we move forward?
It's like the Robin Williams syndrome.
Yeah.
You know, you think they got everything they want, and really they're struggling big time.
Exactly. Again, it doesn't discriminate.
No, and that's it. I think a lot of people, the easy thing to say or to think is, you've got an amazing life, and what have you got to be sad about? I think there's so many people that think that. But I think everybody has day-to-day struggles, and it's how you deal with those. So
How old are you now, Elliot?
26.
26. When I was 26, I was suffering from anxiety attacks. I didn't have a clue what was going on, and luckily Sue forced me to go and seek help. I obviously had to pay for it in those days, and you can imagine being a bit of a boy around the town, going in meeting a guy with a chrome jewellery and all this white hair, and I thought, oh my God, I get it out here. And you know what, I look back and I think to myself, that guy could have saved my life, really. And of course I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I told all my friends, I think, oh, you're crackers. And I went down there then for like one of my last sessions, and I went on the wrong day, and my mate was sat in the waiting room. And I said, why didn't you say? You know, why and he said, just didn't like to.
Yeah.
So I think it's opened up a lot more since then, isn't it?
100%.
It's changed a lot.
100%. The taboo, and that's what we've got to get rid of. We've got to get rid of the stigma.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing. Like I said, women support each other. They're amazing at supporting each other. Men, we're not. We rip the proverbial out of each other. You know, again, doing a lot on construction sites at the moment. Youngsters will go and speak to their site foreman to say, look, I'm struggling. The site foreman won't elevate it up. He'll just tell everybody in the canteen what happens. It goes to the next break. Yeah. He walks in, he gets the absolute proverbial taken out of him. You know what I mean? And he's going, well, what's the point? Why ask for support? So I will say Level Construction, Level Homes, the CEO, James Duffett, what he has done now, he's elevated an open door policy. So if you feel that you can't go to your next lineup and get support, you can go straight to the top. And if any sort of advice to give to any business out there, big business, is do that. You should all have mental health first aiders, okay? But if you feel that you can't approach that individual because, I don't know, there may be a conflict, you've got to make sure you can go through that chain of command. You know, you haven't got to go through every bypass. You can bypass some command to get that help and support that you need.
Are you seeing that more in businesses these days? I know you spend a lot of time in different companies and different businesses. Are you seeing that they are bringing in these types of people to help?
Yes.
Is that an improving factor in all of this?
I think what we've seen over the years was, everyone has the employment programs. You know what I mean? It's off the shelf. You buy it off the shelf in the field or Boop or whatever. And you're struggling. You go to your HR says, phone this number. And you phone the number, and it's somebody on the edge of the phone going, have a warm bath. Do some breathing exercises. That's not the mental health support you need. So they are now, contacting us so they can have that one-to-one, face-to-face support through that way. And again, through sponsorship, again, that's what we do. But companies have to, like I said, it's prevalent at the moment. Mental health is prevalent.
How do people know the extent of the? I suppose a lot of people might struggle every day. How do they know, from your experience, how far down the line they are and if they need to seek help? Early
the better.
Early intervention is key, like I said. But for individuals, I think it's coming to that breaking point. Everybody in this room will put it down to something else. We always try to mask it with, like I said, stresses of life, tired, new job, you know, bully, whatever it is, you know what I mean? But when it starts teaching then into suicidal thoughts, you think, okay, I need to seek support now. You cry uncontrollably, you know, you feel low all the time. And it comes to a point where, right, I have to ask that question. And this is where the letdown is that because when you do go to your GP, and I get it, the NHS is at breaking point, you can phone up your GP today, any one of us here, and say, I'm struggling with my anxiety at the moment. Straight away, you're diagnosed with anxiety. Have some citalopram, have fluoxetine, have an antidepressant, come back and see me in 3 months. There's no education on what's the side effects, how long will it take to get into my system, you know what I mean? It gets worse before it gets better. And that's the problem, is being let down by the system. And like I said, I've harped on it all the time. Every time you get a door closed in your face, that's another, well, why do I bother? And why do I bother? And what's the end goal? Suicide. Because nobody else is there to help me. And that is the recurring factor that comes to us, is I've been let down, what are you going to be able to do to support me? So immediate intervention is key.
Yeah, well, you've both done some unbelievable work in the last over the years, and obviously I'm sure both of you are going to help a lot of people as well, especially after watching this, and hopefully it raises a bit of awareness for the video that's coming out as well, and obviously for Signposted Cymru. So thank you both very, very, very much for coming on, and obviously if anybody needs any help, then obviously we'll point them in the right direction. So
100%. Like I said, guys, it doesn't matter where you're from. You can ring us from Nepal if you have to. You know, counselling can be done over the phone, can be done over Teams. You know, we've helped people in Glasgow, England, and if you need support, it is there for you. You know what I mean? So please, guys, what I see as well, I see loads of people on social media slating the NHS, slating mental health services. Well, okay, if you're being let down, please contact us, because we will not let you down. You know what I mean? So like I said, whether you're from Nepal or from Ebbw, you will get the support you need.
Yeah, and that's great. That's everything that we'd like to hear. So,
yeah, exactly.
That's brilliant. So thank you very much, both.
Pleasure.
And I'm sure.
I know you're all online. We're looking for extras for us. So if anyone's can give a day of their
if there is any extras out there, then there's definitely an opening for you as well.
Brilliant.
So thank you very much. That wraps up this episode. So thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe for more upcoming content.
They say go the face for telly. Well, the height though.
How many did you have in the film? How many people?
The film starts with a journalist who hounds a politician, hounds him so much, catches him out doing thing, and he ends up taking his life. And then she feels really guilty, goes to her life 3 years later, and her own son, who she's neglected, not neglected, but put her work first, does it, and she goes on a journey then, wondering why. And then she meets all the people. We try to include, like now soldiers, farmers.
Farmers are massive, by the way.
Yeah.
Mid Wales,
It's crazy, isn't it?
So one of the biggest organisations are the Young Farmers Association.
Yeah.
So when the Royal Welsh happens in July, it's massive. You know what I mean? And the amount of farmers, because they're isolated, they work alone. You know what I mean? Then you've got obviously the government. Suicide in farmers is big as well. Wow. It's really big.
And it's even bigger now with the crazy. But when the new tax comes in, they are thinking, if I do it now before the tax.
Well, do you remember foot and mouth? You may not remember foot and mouth. Do you remember the foot and mouth?
Oh God, I remember it well.
I had to go killing cows. The amount of farmers they would take, because they had to kill the whole herd of whatever they had. Oh my God. Daily basis, farmers taking their life in UK. Wow. Massive. Because their livelihood was gone. Yeah. You know what I mean?
It's a horrendous photograph, the one where they're burning all the corpses. And
yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It is, look, like I said, you know, if wherever I go, wherever I
take
talk
me on
to
as
people,
a
if one person
BBC presenter
accesses services, so on that day in Level on Monday, like I said, nearly 100 tradies were there, we call them that. Yeah. 25 people access our service there then.
Not that I know much.
Yesterday in Merthyr Valley Homes, 5 people from that room access our services. And that's the main thing. And the thing with us is there's still people in Abbw that don't know about our services.
Yeah, and that's
and it's crazy. That's why reach for us on social media is key.
Yeah.
Whether it's like a video or whatever it is, because it does frustrate me. Like I said, when I see people slagging off, I haven't had support, I'm like, well, and I'm like, call us, you know what I mean? It's there.
I feel like,
we're going to have to stick a thing on our film website. I mean,
Yeah, and like so, whatever. Like, and what I say to anybody I meet, every walk of life is like, if you forget everything I've just talked about, and because in the military, when you give a set of orders, young soldiers are sleeping until it comes to timings, and that's what I say. You know, is if you forget everything that we talked about, just remember, if you or somebody you know is struggling with mental health, send them to us. They won't be turned away.
because I've had people phoning, texting me 3 o'clock in the morning saying, "Can I meet you for coffee tomorrow? I got to tell you," and I'm not.
But that's just as good though.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but I'm not qualified then. Am I?
Mate, you haven't got to be qualified.
Yeah.
All you got to know is that you can signpost to us.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's all you have to do now.
Yeah.
And any of you guys, if you've got anybody struggling with that, just go, look, here's their number, ring them.
I suppose if you're the first person they want to speak to as well, then
if you want to do a mental health first aid course, I'll get you on a mental health first aid course. There is no right or wrong.
No.
That's the thing. The worst thing is, the best thing is when somebody comes and speaks to you about mental health is listen. Just listen. And then if you've had experiences yourself, is talk about your experiences and how you got through things. And don't be judgmental. Like I said, don't go saying, fucking hell, what are you going to be bothered about? Yeah, you got the best job in the world. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? And that's what you could talk about. As I'm passionate about this.
But he has though, hasn't he?
Podcast.
He plays golf every day.
I wish. That'd be lovely.
Yeah,
But no, guys, like I said, any help, you know, I'll definitely tap in to see if we can get some funding to do something. I'd love it to be more, like I say, more polished and professional.
Well, the film has obviously brought out people I never even thought would suffer to text me and sort of say, I've tried it twice and things like that, and I've gone, oh my God. And
Well, I had fun
so
yesterday.
it's got to be a reason to get them out there to talk, isn't it? You know, some of them are so isolated that they're scared to tell their own wives. Isn't it?
And this construction issue, like I said, but the men taking their lives, right? 50% of them have never had mental health issues. It's a knee-jerk reaction to something, and that's what men do. So, for instance, your wife has been cheating on you. You found out. You've been caught cheating. You're in debt. Oh my God, losing my house. And what is this? I need you to go, right, well, if I take my life now, my life insurance will kick. And that's what people think of. I had a phone call yesterday, young lad, Mrs. had been cheating on him, took an overdose on Sunday, tramadol. Obviously, didn't take enough. So he's in with us today. You know what I mean? Because a friend of a friend said, contact us. Run the crisis team. The crisis team said, well, it's not... So you do 1 more 1 plus 2, okay? Again, crisis team at capacity. There's only 6 people covering Comtaf, the area. I had a meeting with them last week. I sat in on the crisis team. You'd be surprised when people ring up about niff, naff and trivia and just clog up the phones. Guy rang up, he said, oh, my crisis, why? My DVD player doesn't work. All my life, I listened to it. Or I feel a bit down today. And I'm thinking, and again... The problem is there's no education out there. If you put it out on social media, right, this is what the crisis team is for, and you do a green, an amber and a red. If you come in on a red bit here, ring us. If you're there, ring 112. If you're green, ring the GP or ring a third sector organisation.
Another thing I've noticed is, particularly in experience, someone who's been working with me for donkey's years, has all of a sudden, he's just lost his sister, his mother, his father within... And he's got really angry, you know. So it's not, a lot of the time they don't go into a depression.
Yeah.
Well, it is a type of depression, but they're angry with everyone, you know, and they're screaming and,
I suppose it comes out differently.
So there is other aspects you've got to look for, I suppose.
Well, the thing with grief doesn't come under the mental health banner. Right. So there's your mental health banner, grief is here, okay? And there's 7 stages of grief that you've got to go through. So people will ring us up and go, I've lost somebody. You say, well, look, process it now for the next couple of weeks. Well, if you need to talk to it, but you've got to process it, okay? The anger, the loss, the negativity. So you've got to process it. But what happens if you don't deal with that, it, as you said, into depression. You know, I lost my mother 15 years ago. I'll never get over it. You know what I mean? Crew's Bereavement Charity, they have a 2-year waiting list. So they rang us a couple of weeks ago and asked us, can we partner up and take some burden? I said, of course we can. You know what I mean? But they get massive government funding. So I said, look, we will, but we need something. We need something to keep us going. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think at the moment, we got 126 or 7 people in live counselling. You know what I mean? Ranging from £30 an hour to £75 an hour. Because all our counsellors are self-employed. So depending on their experience and the therapy they can give, if they can give EMDR is £75. So that's people with PTSD. CBT, and then it drops down to down, you know, and you know, they are my sleepless nights. So we had a grant 4 weeks ago, it came in, it was £50,000.
Oh, well done.
We had a comic relief fund for 35 that will pay my 2 admin staff, and then 15 grand to deliver this finance gives the girls. Prior to that coming in, we had £5,000 in the bank. And it's just like, monthly, £3,000 goes on counselling. You know what I mean? And the problem, we don't get grants for counselling because the funder will say it's a statutory requirement. The NHS, that's why they get paid for to do that.
Yeah.
But there's an 18-month waiting list, so where does it work?
Not-
Yeah, it doesn't, does it?
Not that I'm looking for a pat on the back for this, far from it, but I've paid for a couple of people to have counselling because I've been so worried about them and they can't get anywhere, you know.
We'll send them to us now.
I will.
Good.
Save me a couple of bob. as
Yes.
well. I knew it was worth coming here.
Brilliant.
That was good.
Yeah, it was very, very, very good. So I think it's going to help a lot.
Put the tagline in there, though.
We will, yeah.
Mental Health Week.
Yeah.
Is
Is that this week?
It's this week.
Wow.
So 12th to the 16th. It's Mental Health Week
Wow.
in UK.
So I didn't even know that.
Yeah. That's why I thought you
Should
should
I
have
became? So shows how much research he's done.
Ah, you have to be doing some research, yeah.
But remember, when you're looking at people,
Yeah.
try it. Absence of the normal, presence of the abnormal. So we'd go into Afghanistan, go to a market day on a Monday, bustling, we went, no, come on. Going in the following Monday, it's dead. We knew Taliban going to hit us, bang, they hit us. And that can be used in everyday life. Check with your children, with your loved ones, and just look and say, all right, well, they're out of character. Why are you out of character? You know what I mean? And just say, everything all right? And that's a very simple way of doing it.
It's funny, you were on about bullying earlier on, and I've got a granddaughter who's 14 but looks about 20, and the grief she has in school.
Because the size of her. My daughter's 6 kind one. She's the biggest in the class. And it's awful. Self-esteem has gone rock bottom. Because she looks different.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's mad. Like
Kids, though, isn't it?
Kids.
Yeah, they're cruel sometimes, they do.
Yeah.
Used to make fun of my nose when I was in school. Used to sing Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer when I come in.
But back then, it was
You
character
laugh
building.
along with
Yeah,
it,
it was good.
But it was.
In fact, I quite enjoyed it. Not that I like attention, of course.